Welcome back, everyone, to another exciting episode of KNA Football. Kate and I are here to recap Week 5. There were a lot of exciting games, and hopefully that's going to translate to a lot of exciting Week 6 games. There's a lot to cover, a lot of unexpected news, a lot of big roster changes that are going to be coming up in this upcoming week, and we're excited to tell you guys about it. So we'll break all that down. We'll go through our predictions for Week 6, and then, as always, we'll go through our segment of the week. Without further ado, welcome to KNA Football. All right, Caden. So what are your thoughts on Week 5? In my opinion, there were a lot of very exciting games. I feel like there was something going on every hour of football. I felt like I got another notification about something crazy that happened, and I'm really excited to break it down. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you on that. There was always something. I know a couple of weeks ago, we talked about there was really a lack of action and a lack of scoring in these games and a lack of just excitement overall. But we really got that for the first, not for the first time, but definitely it was a little more of what we're used to is what we saw this week. And going along with that, there was also a lot of injuries and a lot of big player news that we'll have to get to. So you hate to see the injury part of it, but the points and the action and the overtimes and the just excitement is something that I know a lot of people have been waiting for, and it only took 5 weeks to get there, but that felt like the best NFL Sunday we've had in the season. I think so.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it doesn't feel like to say that, like it still feels early. The best NFL Sunday we've had all season. And then we've had some plays this week that we're going to get into, but it's like, that's the best play of the season. That's the longest play of the season, things like that. And it's like, well, I feel like the season just started. Well, guess what? It hasn't. We're like almost a third of the way through with the entire season, which is insane, but here we are. Like I said, a couple of those crazy plays. So before we jump into the recap of the week, we need to break down our top 3 plays. And let me tell you, when I was going through the plays of this week, I was like, as I was watching the games, I was keeping mental notes. As then we were preparing the episode, I pulled up some of the crazy plays, and it was tough. It was tough to pick 3. There were probably 7 plays that I really wanted to include in this, but I had to stick with 3. So without further ado, our first play is going to be the longest play of the year so far. It is a scoop and score for the Seahawks. I believe it comes out to 101 yards is the official thing, but here we go. Let's roll this. So the Giants are on the 1-yard line getting ready to score. Tries to go through the pile. Don't know where the ball is. And then the Seahawks pick it up and run it all the way back for 101-yard touchdown. I mean, this is crazy. I didn't see this one coming at all. I mean, no, obviously no one sees this coming, but the fact that you didn't know where the ball was for most of the play, and then all of a sudden he picks it up and starts running, you're like, well, surely he's down. Surely something happened. How did he end up with the ball there? But here we are.
Right. I think the Giants thought that he was down, or at least had scored a touchdown, because they had almost stopped, and then like you said, the Seahawks picked it up and started running. No whistles had blown, and they let them. And I love that, first of all, from the refs, letting them finish the play regardless, because you can always go back and change it. But if they'd have blown them down at the 1, then you can't go back and give them the touchdown. You have to put them down at the 1. So I like that from the refs, letting them play, and it obviously turned out to be the right call, going all the way for a touchdown. Yeah,
for sure. All right, so the next play that we have here is a huge one. It's in the same game, actually. This is the New York Giants blocking the Seahawks attempt at a field goal for the win. So here we go. Seahawks snap the ball, and he hurdles the guy, picks it up, runs it all the way back. And, I thought that the days were gone when we had seen guys hurdling for blocked field goals. I mean, was it just a couple years ago that they said, all right, that's it. We've had our fun, but you're no longer allowed to have a running head start when you go to try to hurdle a guy. You're no longer allowed to use their back as leverage, so you can't jump on their back and use them as a step stool. That's no longer allowed. And I was like, well, surely no one's going to be able to do it again. Well, here the Giants go, and when you look at the film really close, you'll see that this was pretty much planned. You had two Giants guys on the either side pushing down on their offensive lineman there, and then the third guy from a standstill position hurdling them. No run up, no leverage, so it's a perfectly legal play, and I'm totally here for it.
Oh yeah, it was an awesome play. Again, I'm not sure if it's exactly legal because as the center on a field goal attempt, you are not allowed to
Right.
be contacted by anybody. Let
Right.
alone like anyone on the D line, anyone trying to hurdle you, you're not allowed to be contacted. And like you said, he was contacted on this play. So, I mean, hindsight probably should have been a flag, but they didn't call it. They didn't see it. It turned out to be one of the best players of the week. Won the Giants the game, obviously. So it was a great game overall.
Yeah.
Two of the top 3 plays came from this game.
And, not that the other plays of the week, weren't like the other plays that happened this week weren't good, but these are just obviously you have to include the longest play of the year. Probably will end up being one of the longest plays of the year, if not the longest. And then obviously a block field goal, which we don't get to see all that often. So you gotta put it where you can, especially one that's returned for a touchdown. All right, and then our last play. If you watched any football this week, you know that this was going to be our number one play. Nothing was going to top it. We have Lamar Jackson playing the Cincinnati Bengals, and he has the most insane play of all time. When this happened, I texted Caden and Debbie, and I was like, I'm pretty sure Lamar Jackson just won the Heisman for the NFL because this is a Heisman moment right here. Debbie, let's roll that clip. So here we go. The snap is bobbled on the ground. Lamar Jackson rolls out, stiff arm, keeps rolling all the way out, fading to the sideline and just launches it in the air. Caught for a touchdown by Isaiah Likely. Obviously, Mark Andrews still nowhere to be found. But that's beside the point. Absolutely insane play. Goes from fumbling the snap. It's on the ground. He's scurrying on the ground on all fours trying to pick that up. Stiff arms a guy twice to get away from him. Fade away to the sideline. In the air as he throws it. Ill-advised throw. You really should just throw that away. Move on to the next play. Stupid decision. But it gives us our number one play of the week.
Yeah, I don't think maybe at the end of the season we can do a top plays of the year, and I truly believe that will be number one because that was one of the best plays that I've seen ever. Like you said, scrambling around looking for the ball. Play could have easily been a turnover from the start, let alone you just fall on the ball, call it a day, move on, and play another down. Now he picks it up, he runs around. Sam Hubbard, or no, that wasn't Sam Hubbard. Maybe it was. Either Sam Hubbard or Trey Hendrickson, I don't remember which one it was, get off the edge. Very good defensive lineman for Cincinnati. And not only once, but 2 times, you stiff arm him to the ground, get around, and like you said, all the way to the sideline, fading, throwing a lob up to Isaiah Likely. I mean, yeah, like you said, incredible play. We won't see anything else like that from any other quarterback. I don't think any other quarterback in the NFL is making that play.
Yeah, absolutely not. Like this was probably, I mean, I don't know. Maybe we'll have something else crazy happen, but in my opinion, this might be the play of the year just because of, I mean, it ended in a touchdown too. Like even if it would have been a 10-yard dink and dunk, he completes it, it still would have been crazy, but a touchdown is just the icing on the cake. Yeah. All right. So let's jump into our recap. So the first game that we have is the Thursday night game, the Buccaneers and Falcons. So this was, I mean, obviously this is a divisional game. It's a big game heading into it. Buccaneers have been hot. They're just coming off a loss. The Falcons just coming off a loss as well to, was it?
No, they beat the Saints.
They beat the Saints. So big game for both these teams, divisional game. Falcons walk away with this one 36-30, and it was a massive game for both offenses. I mean, obviously, as you can see with the score, defense wasn't really all that present. But, I mean, Baker Mayfield had a huge day. He had 3 touchdowns. The passing wasn't as good. He had less than 200 yards passing. But then on the Falcons side of the ball, Kirk Cousins had 509 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. And then they went down and had a game-winning field goal, game-winning drive to set up the field goal to win the game for him. or kind of seal the game.
No, they sent it to overtime with that.
You're right. I was like then looking at the score and I'm like, this is not right. But I remember there being a big field goal. Send it to overtime to then go ahead and win the game. All right, Caden, what's your breakdown of this game here?
Yeah, like you said, Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan was being honored at this game at halftime, but Kirk Cousins broke the all-time record for passing yards in a game by a Falcon with 509 yards. This was really Kirk Cousins' coming out party in Atlanta. He played exactly how they wanted him to play when they brought him in this offseason. They gave him all that money to go out and perform the way he did. Drake London was performing so well. Darnell Mooney is playing amazing. Kyle Pitts even had a good game. The offense in Atlanta is clicking right now. The only question mark in this game was Bijan Robinson, which is insane because I think it's pretty fair to say he's the best player on their offense, and he didn't have a good game. So if you can get Bijan Robinson involved with that already clicking offense, that's very scary. And if Kirk Cousins continue to play like he is, that's very scary. And this isn't a bad Bucs defense either. I mean, it's a pretty solid Buccaneers defense. And on the other side, Baker Mayfield is continuing to just dominate and do what he wants. I mean, 30 points is not anything to slouch at. You shouldn't be disappointed with that. 30 points should win you a game in the NFL. It just happened that the other team put up 36, and it was a phenomenal game, great overtime win, and everybody was stepping up in Atlanta. Their, I think, fourth or fifth receiver, Kadero Hodge, got a 45-yard touchdown in overtime to win the game. I mean, it was a great game. Thursday Night Football hasn't had a good game all season. Finally got one.
Thursday Night Football has not had a good game like ever. Thursday Night Football has been this. But yeah, this one was a great one, and obviously that touchdown to end it. It's like the guy that touched the field for one play. Like that definitely was in the running for play of the week just because of the significance of it. But congratulations to the Falcons and Kirk Cousins for putting up a crazy, crazy game. Then we'll go across the pond here to Kirk Cousins' former team. We have the Jets and Vikings. I didn't watch this game because I was in church, and I don't watch football while I'm in church anymore. And so the Vikings ended up winning this one 23-17. Aaron Rodgers had not a great day. He had 244 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, but he did have 3 interceptions, so that obviously was not great. Breece Hall was again non-existent. Sorry to everyone who drafted him thinking he was going to be good. That's our bad for telling you to do that. And then Sam Darnold had an okay day. Didn't score any touchdowns. I'm looking at the stats, actually, I don't know how the Vikings won, but definitely had to do with Justin Jefferson had almost 100 yards, which is like all of Sam Darnold's yards. Right. Caden, what do you make of this game?
Yeah, I mean, like you, didn't watch most of this game. I was at church. I was able to catch the tail end of the game. But from what I was able to grasp from looking at highlights and looking at things after the game, Aaron Jones went down fairly early in this game. And then once that happened, their offense stopped clicking, which Aaron Jones has been a very good surprise so far this season, as well as the entire Vikings offense. And him going down really transformed that offense, because it seems to me like, obviously, yes, they have Justin Jefferson and the offense is going to run through Justin Jefferson, but it was really clicking when you had Jefferson, when you had Jordan Addison, when you had Aaron Jones then to help in the passing game, but also be a great running back. When he left, their offense was not the same. I mean, they were able to win because their defense had a pick 6 off of Aaron Rodgers. They had 3 overall interceptions off of Aaron Rodgers. But I think that the Vikings are going to be okay. I mean, their defense, we talked about it every week. Their defense continues to dominate. Aaron Rodgers he doesn't have the same skill that he had a couple of years ago, but he's still mentally a very good, smart quarterback. And to get 3 interceptions off of Aaron Rodgers is very impressive, and it's a very good defensive performance. But, I mean, we can jump right into it. The story kind of the week is Jets Tuesday morning, went ahead and fired their head coach, Robert Saleh, and what I believe was kind of a shocking move.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was expecting. I mean, even Robert Saleh said that he didn't see this one coming. I certainly didn't. I was I don't even know where I was. I think I was in like the Chick-fil-A line here on campus, and I get the notification. And I didn't really think anything of it initially. It was like, oh, it's another Bleacher Report notification. I'll look at that in a second. And I just happened to glance down and see the red alert button. I'm like,
I
whoa.
love seeing those red alert things.
And I really thought that what I was going to read after the alert thing was that Davante Adams had been traded. That's what I really thought was going to be the news. And then I was like, Robert Saleh was fired? This is insane. I mean, yeah, you started 2-3. I guess that's not the best. I guess that you were anticipating you would do better. But he is by no means a bad coach. I mean, he took a team with Zach Wilson for like 2 years. He like carried that team to near playoff contention or playoff contention. Like, I don't think he deserved to be fired for this. So I'm a little bit at a loss. And I think he'll get a great job somewhere.
I think he'll get a good defense. I think he should be a defensive coordinator. I think he's a very good defensive coordinator to defensive coach. I don't think he's a head coach in the NFL. I mean, he'll get another opportunity somewhere. It might not be next season, but eventually he will. That's how the NFL works. But I don't think he is a head coach. I think like, if you look at the Jets, when he came in, yes, they had Zach Wilson. They had a terrible offense. He developed that defense into one of the best in the NFL, and they remained one of the best in the NFL. And throughout this time, he was trying to transform that offense. Drafted Garrett Wilson, who hasn't had the breakout that we were all hoping he would have. Drafted Breece Hall, who's really struggled so far this season, bringing in Aaron Rodgers, who obviously last season gets hurt, can't do anything about that. But this season, Aaron Rodgers, if you put his stats side by side with Zach Wilson's from last season, they look very similar. And you're doing all of this to try to transform that offense, and he just doesn't seem to have the locker room. He doesn't seem to have a winning culture there in New York. So I think it was surprising that he got fired, but I don't completely disagree with the decision. And I do think it's really funny that you said that you thought it was about Davante Adams, because I was at work, and sometimes like if a big trade or something happens, whichever one of us sees it first will text in our group chat and say just one word. Like you texted, you saw it first. I was at work and I had my AirPods in, and your AirPods will read you a text, and all of a sudden like it just like goes bling, and it's like Austin said Jets. And I was like, oh, Davante must have just gone to the Jets. And I just left it go for a second because I was in the middle of something. And I grabbed my phone and I looked and I saw it, and I was like, oh, he did not go to the Jets. Saleh got fired. So that's pretty funny. And I saw we had a comment, Debbie, if you are able to pull that back up. Rogers Hayers will one day pay $50 a piece to stare at his bust in the Hall of Fame. I mean, yeah, Aaron Rodgers is someday going to be in the Hall of Fame. Nobody is arguing that. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, yes. But at this point in his career, he's putting up no different stats than Zach Wilson was last year, and there's no denying that.
Well, we'll get back to this one in a second. This is from Davis Matson at 11. We'll get back to that when we talk about the actual game, because the answer is 11. But real quick, I would like to point out that I really think that it should have been Hackett's job that was on the line here, and I think everyone else thought that too. But so it's surprising to me, but I understand that Aaron Rodgers really likes Nathaniel Hackett. They worked well together in Green Bay. So yeah, Rodgers can say what he wants. He was on the Pat McAfee show today saying that he didn't have anything to do with the Saleh firing, which I believe. I believe he didn't have anything to do with the firing, but I do believe that he had something to do with the fact that Nathaniel Hackett.
I think it was solely him. I think he got Saleh fired.
I don't think. I don't. He even said that. Rodgers said that if he had played better on Sunday, Robert Saleh would still have a job today. So he is taking the blame for that, but I think that there is some blame to be had just because Rodgers likes Nathaniel Hackett so much. All right, the next game that we have is the Panthers and Bears. We don't have to spend too much time on this one, but I didn't watch it. It's okay. You can take it over, and then we'll move on quickly.
Yeah. I mean, I am back down to earth. The 2 weeks of the Panthers offense looking really good, and me having a little bit of hope is gone. The Bears are not a good offense, and they put up 36 points in this game. However, Caleb Williams, I know he played the Panthers defense, which is the worst defense right now in the NFL, but Caleb Williams looked a lot better in this game, and he's steadily gotten better in every game he's played. I'm very, very interested to see how he looks next Sunday. They have a game in London, and if he improves off of this or plays similar to this, the Bears will all of a sudden go from, oh yeah, they're just the same old Bears, to, okay, maybe this team, they're not going to make a deep playoff run, but they have definitely something building to their future because they have a dominant defense. And if they can get that offense rolling with Caleb Williams and all their weapons, definitely something to be excited about. But then on the other side of the ball, Panthers continue to struggle, continue to be one of, if not the laughing stock in the NFL. And injuries after injuries after injuries have mounted up. I believe the Panthers only have 2 to 3 defensive starters from week 1 who are still healthy, which
That's insane.
Whoever is the medical team for the Panthers, whoever's the strength and conditioning coach, needs to be fired 3 days ago. I don't understand, but that's crazy. But yeah, the Bears played very well.
Yeah. This game was so bad we actually got to see Bryce Young again, so I didn't think we'd see him for a couple of years.
We did it. Bryce Young came in at the end of the game.
All right, we'll move on very quickly because that was not a game that we want to ever remember. Next, we have...
Oh, do you want to remember this one
instead? I don't want to remember this one at all, actually. So we have my Cleveland Browns and the Washington Commanders. Look, did I necessarily expect to win this game? No, not really. Jaden Daniels has been having an absolute crazy season. I knew that he was going to really cook our defense, but our defense actually started really strong. We looked like we were confusing Jaden Daniels. We got an interception off of him. We forced a couple 3-and-outs. It was a good time. Our offense was struggling as usual, and then things just got out of hand, and they kept getting worse. So obviously, you can see final score 34-13. It doesn't really reflect the Browns scored that last touchdown when the Commanders had all of their backups in. So this is an awful game. Deshaun Watson needs benched. Like, that's really what it comes down to. Kevin Stefanski said that he will he's our guy. We got to keep playing him. And I understand what you're saying. If you bench Watson, people get fired. The GM is probably getting fired if you bench Watson because you can't give a guy $250 million and trade away your entire future and then bench the guy you did it for. So I understand you're trying to preserve some jobs, whatever, but he is abysmal. Like, let's be so for real, guys. He's awful. We need to just start famous Jameis. I need some Jameis magic in my life. I need the 5 interceptions, but also 7 touchdown game. That's what I need. Davis Madsen 11 says, Austin, let's go from 1 to 10. How bad do you wish Baker was playing for the Clowns? 11. Like, I've said it since Baker left. I liked Baker. I wanted Baker to stay in Cleveland. I think that he is a Cleveland guy. Like, his chip on his shoulder, raw talent, just like angry all the time. Like, that's Cleveland. And I was sad to see him leave. Happy to see him doing well. And I'm going to be picking against the Browns every single week that we have Deshaun Watson as our quarterback. This is the last thing I'm going to say, and then we'll move on because this is a terrible game. We are the only team in the NFL to not score 20 points in a game. We are also the most expensive offense in the NFL. Like, let that sink in for a second. We are paying our offense the most out of any team and also are the only team not to have scored 20 points. Anyway.
I do think we need to talk about the Commanders for at least a second because
all right, that's fair.
They are 4-1.
Crazy team. Yes.
They are 4-1. A team that people wrote off at the beginning of the season. A team that I don't remember what you said about them, but a team that I was very high on coming into the season, and I'm loving the Commanders right now. They're one of the most fun teams to watch. I know last time we said that about the Cardinals, and then they have not won a game since. But the Commanders are the Cardinals won on Sunday. What are we talking about? The Commanders are fun to watch, genuinely, and Jaden Daniels is having one of the greatest rookie seasons that we've seen ever from a quarterback, and I hope it continues. And their defense is playing better than we thought. Their offense is electric. Terry McLaurin has an actual quarterback for the first time in his career. Good stuff down there in Washington. But yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, crazy year for Jaden Daniels. I'm excited to see him keep playing. Hopefully, he stays healthy and continues to do what he's doing because honestly, like, if he continues playing this way, like, MVP rookie season.
No, that
Oh, it could happen. It could happen. He's got to keep it up. All right. Next game that we have going on is the Dolphins and Patriots. So the Dolphins ended up winning this game 15-10. This is another game that's like, could we please forget about this one? We had Tyler Huntley playing again. I thought we had gotten rid of that guy once he got out of the Ravens because Lamar Jackson would no longer be getting hurt for him to play. And then Jacoby Brissett, obviously, getting killed again, had 160 passing yards. The Patriots announced that they will be starting Drake May this upcoming week, which means say goodbye to Drake May. He will be getting killed. I didn't think it was possible to get CTE in your first game, but this just in, he has CTE before he even played his first game. So, Caden, what do you make of this game?
Yeah, this game was very boring. I mean, 15-10 final score. Not a lot of points. Devon Achane got hurt very early in this game. Tyreek Hill only had about 50 to 60 yards in this game. I don't have the official stat up at the moment. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think Miami scored a touchdown. I think it was 5 field goals in this game for Miami. But
correct.
Jacoby Brissett continues to get hit. We talked about how Miami isn't going to win a game until Tyler Huntley comes back. Wow. They proved us wrong and they won. Keep starting Tyler Huntley, and you guys will be 2-8 when Tua comes back, and your season will be far from over. You still can't go into the next game starting Tyler Huntley. Like, as a Dolphins fan, I am not happy about no. I'd rather they're such a bad team right now. Like, I know they got the win, but they're one of the worst teams in the NFL right now with Tyler Huntley as their quarterback, and there's no going around that.
Yep. I mean, honestly, if you want to talk about most valuable players, Tua is the most valuable.
Tua might be the greatest player in NFL history. If the offense looks this bad without Tua, and then when he's there, they look that good. Tua might be just the GOAT.
Put Tua on any other team. Put Tua on the Chiefs, and they're dropping 200 on your head a game. Okay,
because without Tua, the Dolphins go from the best, like one of the top 2-3 offenses in the NFL, to the bottom. Yeah. I mean, Tua for Hall of Fame. Start clamoring for it right now.
I'm here for it. All right. The next game we have is the Colts and Jaguars. The Jaguars end up snapping their losing streak. They finally win a game. I was here for the ride. I was here for the Jaguars lose every single game, and it was going to be crazy. You're going to say what?
I think you said the Colts broke their losing streak. I think you accidentally.
Oh, maybe I did. Jaguars broke their losing streak. I guess I messed that up. They're now a whopping 1-4. So they kind of figured things out. Maybe Doug Peterson won't get fired. He will. So Joe Flacco had another crazy game. 359 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. Trevor Lawrence finally had a decent game under his belt. 371 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception. Trey Sermon was the leading rusher for the Colts, which is kind of crazy, even though he had less than 40 yards. So as an Ohio State fan, love to see him getting touches. And then take Bigsby.
Jonathan Taylor was injured.
Right. So that's why he got his touches, but he still had less than 40 yards. So it's kind of rough. And then Tank Bigsby was kind of the breakout story of this game. I mean, he's trending on every fantasy app right now. I think he's up like 1.1 million ads in the last couple of days, which is insane. But he had 101 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. So that was kind of crazy.
Yeah. Going back, I wish I had the stat ready. Why didn't I get this prepared? The Colts are in their last 10 games or something like that. 9, 10, or 11 games in Jacksonville are 0 in whatever that number is. Debbie, if you would be able to somehow find that while we're talking about this, that would be awesome. The Colts cannot win in Jacksonville.
Really?
And if you remember a couple seasons back, the Jaguars had the first pick back-to-back years. So that's including those years because they have to play in Jacksonville every single season. So the Colts continue that trend this season, losing to the then winless Jaguars. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence had a career game in this one, and Joe Flacco looked really good, just like we expected him to. He was throwing deep bombs to Alec Pierce. He ran the ball for like a 20-yard run. I mean, I would not to bring it up, but I'm sure Browns fans are wishing they still had Flacco right now too. I mean, yeah, it was a great game, 37-34. I mean, that's a lot of points. This is like one of those games we were talking about, came down to a game-winning field goal. And yeah, the Colts continue to lose in Jacksonville, and hopefully Jacksonville can use this as momentum and try to right the ship back towards closer to a 500 or winning record.
Yeah. So before we move on from this game, Caden, but when Anthony Richardson returns, do the Colts continue to start Flacco with the way he's been playing in the last 2 games?
I think that they have to start Anthony Richardson. I don't think that you can draft someone number 4 last year who gets hurt 4 games into the season last year. And so you're like, oh, it's okay. He's our guy still. Like, we drafted him for a reason. And then he plays 4 games this year, gets hurt. I don't think that you can take him out. I think that, like, if you take him out, he might be done because his confidence, that the kid shatters somebody's confidence. And I don't think, and for him, Joe Flacco is not the type of quarterback for Anthony Richardson to be learning under anyways, because Joe Flacco is a pocket passing quarterback. Mm-hmm. We know that Anthony Richardson is not that. He has negative pocket passing skills. He needs to learn under somebody like a Josh Allen. Obviously, he's not going to take that role because he is a starting quarterback. He's serviceable at times. Like he will be the starter when he comes back. I truly believe.
All right, well, if you say so. I think they should continue to start Flacco. I think that Flacco's been playing insane, and maybe you switch things up. You kind of have a 2-quarterback system. When you need a shotgun pass, you go with, or an under center pass, you go with Flacco, and then when you want to run more of a wildcat, Taysom Hill type play, you bring in Richardson. But that's a story for another day.
We have breaking news, Austin.
Do we? What's our breaking news?
We do. Game? In 32-man fantasy football league.
Oh.
Everybody cares so much about. There's been a 12-person trade.
12-person trade?
Like, no, not 12 teams. I'm sorry. Like,
12. Okay.
Like, this is 12. No, I'm sorry. This is insane. I'm sorry. No, I saw this. Like, look at my phone.
Yeah.
It's 6. I'm sorry.
6.
It's a 6-person trade. One of the teams was trading away. Let's hear your opinion on this. It's obviously a 32-man league. So, and you guys can comment too what you think. It's a 32-man league, so teams are not stacked by any means. It's very hard to get good players. One of the teams is trading away Garrett Wilson, Jalen Warren, and Dalton Kincaid, and they're receiving Diggs, Jawan Johnson, and Devon Achane.
Ooh.
I think it's a pretty even trade.
That's a really even trade. I mean, we'll see how things shake out at the end of the year, but that feels like a very even trade.
I would say so. I mean, you got Devon Achane, who's puts up so many points with a healthy Tua, and Tua's not there right now, and Achane got a concussion this week. Garrett Wilson, I think the team receiving. Well, I don't know because Nico Collins on IR right now, and Diggs is going to take. That's a very great trade, very even trade.
Yeah, we'll see how it works out. I'm excited to see how that one works out. All right, our next game that we have is the Bills and Texans. The Texans walked away with this one, 23-20. I'll be honest, I didn't see too much of this game at first looks at the stats and stuff. I mean, obviously the Texans had a great game as always. CJ Stroud had 330 passing yards, so that's great. The Bills
don't look at the stats anymore. Don't keep your eyes up from the stats without looking at Josh Allen. What do you think Josh Allen did passing the ball this game? Like his passing percentage? He completed 9. He completed 9 passes. How many attempts?
17.
He went 9 for 30.
What?
Josh Allen went 9 for 30 in this game. He had a terrible passing game. They were in this game because their defense made a couple plays late, turnovers on CJ Stroud. James Cook had a few good plays down the stretch. Josh Allen can make plays, but Stephon Diggs alone had more yards than the Bills receiving core did. Shakir? No, what's his name? Khalil Shakir? Can never say his name correctly. He was out for this game. He didn't play. He's the Bills' number one receiver, if you want to call him that.
Well, clearly he is.
I mean, I guess, but he's not that good. And they were terrible. I mean, Josh Allen the last 2 weeks has really struggled. Obviously, last week getting blown out by the Ravens, and now 9 for 30 in a loss to the Texans.
That is insane. And yeah, that's crazy. Josh Allen.
I know. When I saw it, because I was watching the game and I was like, wow, Josh Allen's really struggling. But then I was listening to some stuff today at work, and they were talking about they talk about the box scores of every game, and they talk about it more in detail. And they just mentioned that box score, and I was like, 9 for 30. Like that's like 30%. Below 30%. Is it 30%?
Yeah, it's 30%, yeah.
That's terrible.
That's insane. Yeah, Josh Allen continues to be the sole reason that fantasy teams either win or lose every week. Like, he either puts up 40 fantasy points or like 2. Let's see. There was something else I was going to mention. Oh, you texted in our group chat during this game, and you said that Bill's head coach is an absolute moron. You mind breaking that down for us?
Yeah. So at the end of the game, it was 20-20, and the Bills had no timeouts, but they forced the Texans to punt, and the Texans pinned the Bills down at like their own 2-yard line, maybe 3-yard line. And there was about 40 seconds left. So what do you do there? You most likely just run the ball 3 times. If the Texans call all their timeouts, then there's about 30 seconds left. You punt the ball. The Texans have no timeouts. They have 1 Hail Mary shot, and that's it. Most likely, you run the ball once. They let it go to overtime. Game goes to overtime. What do the Bills decide to do? They decide with their no timeouts, starting at their own 2 or 3 yard line, that they're going to drive 97, 98 yards in 40 seconds with no timeouts. They're going to take 1 deep shot with Josh Allen that falls incomplete. They're going to take another deep shot with Josh Allen that falls incomplete. That was almost intercepted. And then instead of thinking, okay, this is clearly an idiotic move, let's stop, they did another deep shot with Josh Allen that falls incomplete. So only the span of maybe 10, 15, 20 seconds went off of the clock, and the Bills kept all 3, or the Texans kept all 3 of their timeouts. The Bills punted. Texans got the ball around the 50 or maybe their own 45. They ran 1 play, quickly got down in field goal range, took a short little 10 to 15 yard slant. They go down, kick a game-winning field goal. That one was solely on the Bills head coach, Sean McDermott. One of the dumbest end of the game clock management situations I've ever seen. I was frustrated watching this ending. Like, I'm not a Bills fan. I was neutral watching this game, but I was like, what are they doing? Like, this, stop trying to outsmart them and just go to overtime. Like, you just lost your team the game.
That's pretty.
No. I texted you pretty angrily. I was like, the Bills head coach is an idiot.
Yeah, that's pretty dumb. Maybe he needs to go back to football 101. All right, the next game that we're going to break down here is the Ravens and Bengals. This was a absolutely huge game. Obviously, our number 1 play of the week was from this game. Lamar Jackson had 348 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. Derrick Henry had nearly 100 yards on the ground. Joe Burrow had 392 passing yards, 5 touchdowns. Their running game was non-existent. But then obviously Jamar Chase and T. Higgins finally back. They both put up nearly 50-point fantasy games, which is crazy. But at the end, the end of this game was just as good as the rest of it. I mean, obviously 41-38, you're like, man, we've had a firefight, and then you're like, oh, okay, well, I guess one team has to win this thing. This game, I'll see if I can remember it exactly right. This game goes to overtime. Mm-hmm. The Ravens win the toss. They going down the field, and the play clock winding down. Lamar Jackson, he's like trying to hurry his team. He's clapping, clapping, clapping. He looks up at the play clock and the ball gets snapped. And just that split second of taking his eyes off of it, he misses catching the football. And it winds up on the ground. There's a big scuffle. The Bengals jump on top of that. And you're like, oh, man, now it's just whoever scores first wins. Here we go. Bengals are pretty much already in field goal range. Sure enough, they get into field goal range. Going to kick the game-winning field goal. Here we go. Holder fumbles the snap as well. It's all over the place. He somehow manages to get it down right as Evan McPherson goes to kick it, which is like a miracle that he got it on the ground, but obviously that messes him up enough. Evan McPherson pulls it. It goes wide left. All right, now the Ravens have the ball again. Let's see what happens. And you already know what happens. Give the ball to Derrick Henry. He takes it all the way down inside the 15. Ravens don't even mess around with it. They on 1st and goal, they trot out Justin Tucker, kick the game-winning field goal. I mean, like there's no reason to get any closer. You're already here. Kick the field goal, get out, win the game. So Bengals had a fantastic game. Like this is one of those games where it's like both teams deserved to win this game. Unfortunately, one team had to win it, and unfortunately for the Bengals, it was the Ravens in this one. Everyone on the Bengals had a great, great day, at least on offense, and it's crazy that here they are. I think they're 1-4 now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Joe Burrow had 392 yards passing with 5 touchdowns. Jamar Chase had 193 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. You should not be putting up those numbers on offense and losing. But unfortunately for the Bengals, that's been what they've been doing all season. Joe Burrow has been quietly been one of the best quarterbacks this season in the NFL. I think he's leading the NFL in touchdown passes. He's up there in yards. I mean, he is playing such good football. The Bengals offense is exactly what we've thought the Bengals offense was going to be, and they are clicking on every cylinder. They're unstoppable. What's unfortunate is their defense is so terrible. Yes, the Ravens are a good team, but the Panthers put up a lot of points on you. Washington's good, but the Bengals defense is what's losing them these games, and unfortunately for them, starting 1-4, it's going to be an uphill climb for them to make the playoffs, which I mean, a team that has Super Bowl aspirations, it's just going to be a challenge for them to go ahead and make the playoffs right now.
Yeah, and, as difficult as it's going to be to even just get over the hump of where you are right now at 1-4, it's going to be even more difficult as you enter those later games of the season, or even if you make the postseason. If you can somehow crawl your way to the postseason, you're going to be doing it in spite of your defense, and you're not going to be able to compete with the other teams that make the playoffs with the defense you have. So they need to figure it out on that side of the ball for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the next game that we have is the Raiders and Broncos. The Broncos have very quietly, been sneaking their way to a good record. I think they've won their last 3 games. Yeah. The first 2 before this one were really close, low-scoring games, really ugly football. This one, obviously, they just took off with it. 34-18 final score, and unfortunately this one did cost Gardner Minshew his starting job. They will be going with Aiden O'Connell for their next game. So, I mean, let's see. Let's look at the score here. I mean, Bo Nix, decent day for him. I mean, he had 206 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, it's looking a lot better for the Broncos than I definitely would have anticipated at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. Bo Nix has gotten better in every single game. Their defense is the lights out. Patrick Surtain had an 100-yard pick 6, which honestly, if I had picked the top plays this week, I would have put that in the top plays. I think that was an amazing play by Patrick Surtain, who I think right now is the best corner in the NFL. He's so good. But Bo Nix has gotten better every game. They had a 50-yard touchdown that they didn't get because it went right through Troy Franklin's hands. He cooked his corners. I don't think I've ever seen a more wide open drop. It was really sad. But if that play is completed, Bo Nix finishes the game with 250 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, the Broncos are very quietly and sneakishly, like you were saying, 3-2 now, and they're surprising a lot of teams. I don't think anyone's clamoring for them to go to the playoffs or anything, but definitely an improvement of what we thought they were going to be this season. Maybe Sean Payton knows what he's doing.
Maybe he's actually good after all. All right, so let's see. The next game that we have here is the Cardinals and 49ers. Now, I did not see this one coming. I thought for sure the 49ers were going to win this game. Cardinals walk away with it 24-23. I didn't catch too much of this game. I saw that Kyler Murray had a crazy, was it 45 yard rush for a touchdown. He started celebrating 45 yards out. Caden, what did you get from this game?
Yeah. The 49ers really shot themselves in the foot. I mean, they had a chance to put this game away at the very end, and Jordan Mason fumbled at about the 9-yard line. And the Cardinals got the ball with the chance to go down the field and take the lead, and that's what they did. They very slowly, methodically marched their way down the field. They had a 4th down from their own territory, and Kyler Murray did what Kyler Murray should continue to do and just lobbed it up to Marvin Harrison Jr., who made a great catch on a 4th down to continue the drive. They go down, score, and take the lead, and then the 49ers have one more chance. And Brock Purdy got hit as he threw, and it was intercepted, and they lost the game. And the 49ers dropped to, I believe, 2-3. And Brock Purdy and the 49ers, without all 6 of their infinity stones on offense and all 6 of their superstars, are not a good team, which is super, super concerning for Brock Purdy fans and Brock Purdy backers, because without Trent Williams, without all of these guys out there at once, Trent Williams, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, without all of those superstars out there, your team can't win. So many teams would be lucky to have 1 or 2 of those guys, and you have like 4 of them, and you're just missing the 1, and you still can't get over the hump, and you can't beat the Cardinals. You can't beat the Rams. They're losing games that they should not just be winning, the games that they should be dominating, and it's a very concerning thing for the 49ers. It's I'm concerned for them.
Yeah, I am too. But on the other side of this game, the Cardinals obviously still finding ways to win, and that way is always through Marvin Harrison Jr., as it turns out. So keep your eyes on the Cardinals. They fell off a little bit from their one crazy game, but they're still out here winning games against good teams. Next game that we have is the Giants and Seahawks. A good day for both quarterbacks. Geno Smith, 284 yards passing and a touchdown. He was also their lead rusher with 72 yards. Daniel Jones had 257 passing yards as well as 2 touchdowns. So surprising to see that out of Daniel Jones. Obviously, this is the game that we had the longest play of the season so far, 101 yards, and then obviously the blocked field goal that would have tied the game, sent it to probably overtime, but obviously get the blocked return for touchdown. That's how we end up down here.
Yeah. I mean, quietly, Daniel Jones has not been that bad. They didn't have Malik Neighbors in this game. They didn't have Devin Singletary in this game. And they won the game, put up 29 points. I mean, 6 of them at the very end came off of a blocked punt, I know. But he's not losing games, which people were clamoring for him as the worst quarterback in the NFL. I know I was. I know you were. I know a lot of people were. The Giants are surprising. Daniel Jones is surprising so far. Tyrone Tracy is a rookie running back who stepped up in this game, had over 100 yards. The Giants are just finding ways to outperform. And if they're not winning, they're at least in some of these games that we're all very surprised. We all go back to week 2. They lost to Washington by 3. I mean, Washington's 4-1 right now, and they're one of the hottest teams in the NFL. I mean, the Giants are very surprising so far. But Seattle, people were like, "Oh, Seattle, they're NFC contenders. You know, they're 3-0." And me and you had said they haven't played anybody. They're not looking too good. Like yes, they're 3-0, but just calm it down. They go ahead. They lose a very good game last week against Detroit. They played well in that game, but now they lose to the Giants at home. So I think people might be coming a little back down to earth on the Seahawks. I never got too high on the Seahawks. Even when they were 3-0, I didn't believe the hype. I wasn't drinking the Kool-Aid. But I think this is the Seahawks that we kind of expect. I mean, they're not bad by any means, but they're not the NFC contenders or even division contenders for that matter.
Right. All right. Speaking of that division, we're going to move on to the Packers and Rams. Packers win this game 24-19. Decent day for both sides. Packers just walk away with this one. I'm going to be honest, I didn't catch too much of this one. So, okay, now I'll let you talk about it real quick. We only have 3 games left, so let's get through these.
Yeah. I mean, there's not too much to say other than the Packers did what they had to do to win. Jordan Love played really sloppy, and he hasn't looked phenomenal in any game. If you could remember back to the Brazil game week 1, he had some really bad interceptions that really were costly in them losing that game. Last week against the Vikings, really bad interceptions, 3 interceptions in that game. And this one had one of the worst pick sixes I think I've ever seen as a football fan. I don't know if you saw it, but he's playing very sloppy. But fortunately for him, they played the Rams, who are decimated at every position right now, and they did enough to get the win. That's really all there was to this game. Here we go. Here's the interception. Watch this play. I want to hear your reaction.
All right. Oh, my gosh. All right, so for those of you who are just listening, the Packers start off at their own 4, somewhere in there. Snap the ball. Jordan Love rolls to the right in his own end zone. Goes backwards, gets tripped a little bit. Looks like he's going to go down, and he just launches it. And
he did a Will Levis. That is exactly what I would expect out of Will Levis.
Yes. Just launched it, gets picked at the 3-yard line. Walked into the end. That is bad. Like at that, I mean, I understand what he's trying to do. Don't give up the safety. I get it. You don't think it's going to get picked off. It's got to get back to the line. Like, I understand everything that's going through his head, but man, giving up a touchdown in that situation is like, oh, who was it? It was someone just a couple years ago who did that. Where they were like going to give up a safety and then just launched it like crossbody, gets picked off.
But it was Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy Garoppolo, you're right. Yeah, that is an awful play right there. That is low football IQ. But they ended up winning, so it's all okay. It all is forgiven. But I will remember this one. We'll do a top plays of the year and then a worst plays of the year. And this one.
Oh, I like that. Will Levis, I bet you over under 6 appearances. In that.
I'd like that. I'd like to see him there. All right. Second to last game, we have the Sunday night game. We have the Cowboys and Steelers. Cowboys walked away with this one 20-17. Cowboys did what they had to do. Won in this game. Decent day for everyone on the Cowboys side of the ball. Wasn't too whelming. It was a very underwhelming game. I thought that the Cowboys were going to do a lot more. I think the Cowboys are struggling right now. And the Steelers kept themselves in this game. I mean, their defense is doing what they have to do. They picked off Dak Prescott twice in this game. And then on the offensive side of the ball, the Steelers are doing exactly what they have to do. Justin Fields is not turning the ball over. He only had 131 yards passing, but he had 2 touchdowns, and that's what really matters. What surprised me about this game the most, we can talk about this really quick and then move on to our last game, is that Justin Fields took a pretty bad hit in this game. Got rocked. His head hit the turf pretty hard. He has to come out. You got to check him for a concussion real quick. Just keep things safe. Make sure that everyone's all good. He comes out. So you're like, all right, here we go. He's out. Backup quarterback. We get to see Russell Wilson for the first time since Denver. Let's see what this man's got. No. Russell Wilson's the 3rd string quarterback on this Steelers squad. What? Is he really that bad?
They bring in Kyle Allen. I mean, they had Russell Wilson listed as the emergency QB. So I don't know if that means Russ is still dealing with a nagging injury. But yeah, I was just as concerned as you were when that happened. I was like, oh, why is Russell Wilson still on the sideline? Why is Kyle Allen coming into the game? But I mean, it ended up not mattering. Justin Fields came in like a play or 2 later and then ended up leading a touchdown drive. You texted me and said his concussion just fixed his throwing.
Yeah, it did. He took the hit, and then all of a sudden he's completing passes like I've never seen him complete before. It was crazy.
Yeah. I will ask you, did you stay up for this whole game?
I did, actually.
Me too.
And it was, for those of you who don't know, like, it was delayed a long time. I thought that I wasn't going to get to catch it. And
the game didn't start until 9:45. Yeah.
Yeah. So it ended at like 1 a.m. I think one of the stats that was floating around is that Dak Prescott is the only quarterback to throw 2 interceptions in the same game on different days, which is hilarious because obviously it rolled over. 1 a.m, crazy time to end. I was
Thank
up.
you for that
Yeah,
explanation.
thank you. Well, I was confused at first, but I also saw this at like then 6 a.m. when I woke up the next day. So, but yeah, I was up doing homework, so I did end up seeing all of this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and cool. I guess it was a pretty cool stat. This was the longest day of NFL football, like
Yeah,
in NFL history, because you started at 9:30 in the morning with the London game, and you ended at 1 a.m. with this game being very late. So it was 15 and a half straight hours of football. So great job, NFL. Really worked
script
out
writers could
perfectly.
not have done any better. That is money on money right there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the last game we have, and then we'll predict is the Saints and Chiefs. The Chiefs. Okay, so Rashee Rice. It comes out that Rashee Rice is out for the year, pretty much. We don't know in terms of like playoffs and stuff, but he has to get his LCL repaired, so he's probably out for the year. So you're like, all right, at least for me, like I have Xavier Worthy in like at least 2, maybe 3 of my leagues. I'm like, all right, here we go. It is time for Xavier Worthy to step up. He's about to drop 30 points a game from here on out. Actually, no. Turns out what the Chiefs decided to do is they're going to run Kareem Hunt into the ground. He had 100 yards rushing this game. And then they're just going to run 3 tight end sets the entire time. It's like, we're either going to run the ball because we have 3 tight ends out here, or we're going to throw little dink and dunks to our 3 tight ends. So I did not anticipate that at all, but it worked for them. They won 26-13. And then for the Saints on their end, Derek Carr gets hurt in this game. I think that's the biggest storyline here. He hurt his oblique, so he's going to be out for a couple of weeks, and we're going to be getting Spencer Rattler as quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. And that's another team that it's like, man, you had at least so much potential early on. You need to go get a different quarterback for while Derek Carr is out. Like, I understand this is a temporary fix. Derek Carr will be back, but you cannot start Spencer Rattler with the talent that you are producing right now.
I mean, I'm not going to clamor for the Saints. I'm not going to clamor for Spencer Rattler. But in a Saints fan perspective, I'm going to try to go there, try to go to those psychos' minds. Spencer Rattler is a rookie quarterback, obviously. And just a couple seasons ago, he was projected to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Obviously, he had a horrible couple of seasons there to end his college career, which caused him to drop in the draft. But before going into week 1, Saints fans were clamoring for Spencer Rattler to start over Derek Carr going into the season. Derek Carr obviously starts the season electric, and then that shut everybody up. But Spencer Rattler was being clamored to start week 1. Like, people were calling for him to start. So I think Saints fans are very excited. I'm interested to see how he looks. I'm not saying he's going to be electric and dynamic, but I think he can definitely he's not going to be a Tyler Huntley. Like, he's going to be okay, in my personal opinion. But the Chiefs on the other side of the ball will get there. Little bit of a spoiler preview. I might be talking about them on the next segment, but yeah, so I'll leave the Chiefs talk for that. But yeah.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, so great week of football. Excited to get to recap that for you guys. So before we jump into our predictions for week 6, I need to tell you about our friends at K&F Construction. K&F Construction has been serving the Northeast Ohio community for over 16 years, specializing in composite decks. K&F Construction takes the time and effort to provide the service and product you deserve for your home. You can call K&F Construction today at 330-575-2465 for a free estimate. Again, that's 330-575-2465. You can also visit kfdex.com, which is linked in the description. K&F Construction, let us build your dream backyard. So here we go. Let's jump into our predictions for this upcoming week. First, we have the 49ers and Seahawks. Caden, who you have here?
I'm just going to let you know, just like last week, I'm going. This is the first time I'm seeing these games. I think it was more fun to do it like that. Yeah, 49ers, Seahawks. We're both, both teams struggling, both teams coming off a loss. I'm going to go with the 49ers still in this one. I think their talent should be enough.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go with the 49ers here. I think that if the Seahawks had come off of a better game where they played better against a better team, maybe I would go with them. But because they lost to the Giants, I have to go 49ers. Next game we have is Jaguars Bears.
I'm going Bears in this one. Although it's tough because Jacksonville plays in London like every single year.
Yeah. So I am going to go with Jacksonville on this one. I mean, they're coming off of a big win last week. Obviously, the Bears are too. They put up some crazy points, but that was against the Panthers and their defense. So I am going to go Jacksonville, and they are London's teams. So we'll see how that plays out for them. Next is the General Tutties at Ravens. Who you got for this one, Caden?
This is going to be a really good game. I'm excited for this one. Washington is the General Tutties. And
if you couldn't tell, I made the team.
Yeah, I got it. Washington, and they're not getting a lot of respect in this game because they haven't beaten anyone, which is not true because they beat Cincinnati, who, yes, is 1-4, but they're a good team. But as much as I enjoy watching Washington, I think they're a good team. I'm picking Baltimore. I think their offense is just unfair right now. I don't know how they lost to the Raiders. I think they should be 4-1, but I'm going to go with the Ravens.
Yeah, I am too. I think this is going to be a firefight. I really do. I think this is going to be similar to our Ravens-Bengals game last week.
You have the General Tutties on the ticker. General Tutties at Ravens. Was that you?
I mean, Debbie put it in the ticker, but I think Debbie just copied what I had in the doc. I am going to go with the Ravens in this one. The only reason being, again, like I said, it's going to be a firefight, but I think the Ravens have a better defense than the Tutties have seen in the last couple of weeks. Obviously, the Browns defense is supposed to be good, but we really haven't seen them perform to the level we had them at last year. So I am going to go with the Ravens.
Okay.
Next game is Cardinals and Packers. Who do you have here?
I got the Packers in this game.
Yeah, I do as well. I hope it's going to be a fun game, but I think the Packers are definitely the better team here. Then we have the Texans and Patriots.
I have the Texans winning. I don't think Drake May can get it done in his first start, especially with that roster and that O-line against that team. I think it's all going bad for Drake May. I think it's a horrible time for him to get his first start.
I completely agree. It will be the Texans in this game. Next one is the Buccaneers and Saints. Who you got here?
My gut is telling me the Saints because it's in New Orleans. It's a divisional game, but it's Spencer Rattler's first start. I mean, I'm going with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I'm going with Tampa Bay too. Again, like you said, first start. It's a lot to ask, and the Buccaneers are hot right now. So I'm going to go the Buccaneers. Then we have, I lost my place here, the Browns and Eagles. I don't need to talk about this too much. I'm going to go with the Eagles. Who do you got?
I'm also going to pick the Eagles.
Yep. All right, Colts, Titans. Who you got here?
This is a tough one, not because I think they're both good, but I think that they're both pretty bad. I'm going to go with the Colts, regardless of if Richardson is playing quarterback or Joe Flacco.
Yep. I am as well. I think that Joe Flacco will play. I think they should play Joe Flacco. But even if they play Richardson, I think the Colts got this one. Let's see. Then we have the Chargers and Broncos. Who you got?
This is a tough one. Wow. I'm going to go with... Oh, that might be my favorite game of the week. Even though it's going to be really low scoring and probably boring. Wow. I'm going to pick...
This one's really stumped him.
It is. Don't tell me because then I'll just feel like
I know.
Instead of you.
I know. I already have mine picked out, so you're good.
I'm going to go with the Chargers.
Oh, that's what I was hoping you'd pick. I'm going with the Broncos in this one. They are 3-0 in their last 3 games, and obviously last week was a big one for them. So I think that they're not going to slow down at the moment, and their defense is crazy. And honestly, who's Justin Herbert going to throw to? Next one is the Steelers and Raiders. Who you got for this one?
I think the Steelers will be fine. They'll get back on track against Aiden
Yeah,
O'Connell.
Yeah, their defense is going to eat Aiden O'Connell alive, and Justin Fields will do just enough to win it for him. All right, then we have the Falcons and Panthers.
Kirk Cousins has a chance to break the franchise record again with passing yards. I think the Falcons will dominate.
I agree. Lions and Cowboys.
This one should be good as well, but I'm going to go with the Lions. The Cowboys, they haven't impressed me yet.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going with the Lions as well. All right, then Cincinnati or the Bengals and the Giants.
I think that the Bengals will win this. The Giants offense doesn't scare me enough as much as the Bengals defense scares me.
Yes, I agree. I think this will be higher scoring than people anticipate just because of how bad the Bengals defense has been, but the Bengals offense is going to be way too much for that New York defense. And then the last game of the week, Monday night, is the Bills and Jets. Who do you have for this one?
I'm going to go the Jets. I think teams rally around fired head coaches. And are you going the Jets as well?
I was going to say the exact same thing that you're saying right now. When coaches get fired, teams play better.
Yeah, and the Bills haven't looked good, and I think that the Jets will rally. It's a Monday night in New York. I got the Jets.
Yep, I agree. And then for anyone who's curious, before we take a quick break, this last week, Caden and I both went 7-7 on our picks, which puts Caden at 45 games correct and myself at 44 games correct. So we are in a dead heat right now, and obviously we're agreeing on a lot of these games, so that may continue. All right, we're going to take a very quick break, and then we'll be right back with our segment of the week. All right, welcome back. This week's segment of the week is the Hail Mary. So for those of you who don't know how this works, in this segment, Caden or I will give our Hail Mary, which is basically we're just launching one out there, final seconds of the game, putting one out there. It's our hot take. All right, so we're just kind of throwing something out there. If it sticks, if it happens, we're going to rub it in all of your faces that we are the best at predicting football, and if it doesn't happen, we'll just be like, it's okay, it was part of the segment. So Caden has a Hail Mary for this week. Caden, what do you have prepared for us?
Yeah. So Austin, first I'm going to ask you, I think you explained it very well. It's a hot take. So can you go ahead and explain a hot take? Would a hot take be considered, you can say, oh, we're going to make some hot takes, not to bash on any other podcasts or any other news shows, but you can say Debbie is by the way, Austin and Debbie have no idea what this Hail Mary is, so they're both pretty excited. They keep typing in the chat, but you, not to dog on any other shows or people giving their hot takes, but some people can go out and say, oh, hot take, Kansas City goes out and they three-peat. Oh. Okay, like that's not a very hot take. Or hot take. The Panthers don't finish the worst team in the NFL. Yes, that is unlikely. The Panthers will most likely finish the worst team in the NFL, but it's not the hottest of takes because the odds are so much in their favors, So this week, my Hail Mary is involving the Kansas City Chiefs. It's not going to be that the Kansas City Chiefs go ahead and three-peat. My Hail Mary is that the Kansas City Chiefs finish the season undefeated, have an undefeated season, and three-peat. Looking ahead at the Chiefs' rest of their season schedule. They're obviously undefeated at this point in the season. They have a bye this week. They go to San Francisco their next week. Yes, that could be a tough game any other season, but right now, San Francisco is really struggling, like we just talked about on this week's episode. San Francisco has a game on Thursday night, and then they have to try to get right before Kansas City. Kansas City has a bye this week, so they have a long time to prepare for that game. So I think Kansas City will be okay there. Looking at their next couple games, they got Vegas. You're going to beat the Raiders. You got Tampa Bay. That's a tough team, but this is a primetime game. I trust Mahomes and Andy Reid and Travis Kelce and the Chiefs and their voodoo magic on primetime over any other team. The Chiefs on primetime are not a fair team. And then you got Denver. I know that they're a lot better so far this season, but you're going to beat Denver. You got Buffalo. Buffalo's not looking scary right now. We just talked about what they did this week and what they've done the last couple weeks. You got the Panthers. You might put up 1,000 points in that game. You got the Raiders again. You got the Chargers again. You got the Browns. We know how the Browns are right now. The hardest game remaining on their schedule, in my personal opinion, is Houston. Week, what would that be? 16. It's home. That place is going to be loud. That is the only real game that I'm like, okay, they have a fair chance to lose this game. And especially if they are undefeated going into that, they might be like, okay, we can start to not rest our starters, but it's okay if we lose. But I think the Chiefs have it in their mind of we are going to three-peat. They are so much better than everybody else. They're undefeated and they haven't played Chiefs football. Mahomes hasn't played any Mahomes football yet. He hasn't had a good game yet. Travis Kelce just had his first good game. Travis Kelce looks like he's back to form. Yes, Rashee Rice got injured, but you know what they did? They went in and they brought Juju Smith-Schuster. Yes, I know he is so old and washed up, but he came out on Monday night's game and looked so amazing. And it's like, can they just find anybody and make them become a superstar because Mahomes is throwing them the ball? And not to mention, the trade deadline's coming up, and the team that is most being talked about bringing in a wide receiver is Kansas City. The team who has the best offer right now to the Raiders for Davante Adams is Kansas City. A team who's really trying to get Amari Cooper is Kansas City. Deontay Johnson, Kansas City. All the receivers that are being talked about and being linked to Kansas City. Their offensive line is the best in the NFL. Travis Kelce is back. Xavier Worthy opens up the deep shots to this offense, which then opens up the middle of the field. Kareem Hunt looks like rookie Kareem Hunt when he was in Kansas City originally. Their defense is one of the best in the league, and I think they have that villain like mindset of they know everybody hates them. They know people want the Chiefs off the screen. They know they're tired of hearing about Travis Kelce. They're tired of seeing Mahomes. And I think they know that. And I think they're like, all right, we're going to come out here and we're just going to annoy everybody and we're going to win these games and we're going to go ahead and three-peat, but we're going to not just three-peat, quietly go ahead and have an undefeated season. I don't think nobody talks about that because it's not everyone knows, undefeated season's never going to happen. That's why it's a Hail Mary. That's why it's a hot take. But looking ahead, I truly think that could happen. And when once they get to the playoffs, if they get to the playoffs undefeated, you know it's over because you know that team's not, first of all, losing in the playoffs, period, let alone having their first loss of the season come in the playoffs. That's my Hail Mary for this week.
That is quite
Debbie, go ahead and clip that if you want to. Post it on Instagram Reels. Let it blow up in the comments. Let people get so angry about it. I don't care. I truly believe that it's going to happen, and I'm not rooting for it per se because I can't stand the Chiefs as much as the next guy. But at the same time, it would be really stinking cool to see. And I'm not using this as an added example, but people will say the refs tend to give the Kansas City more calls. I know we talked about that last week, and that could be the difference in a few of these games. That's just, unfortunately, that's how sports work. You're always going to see when the Patriots were good, the Patriots would always get more calls. Now it's the Chiefs. In baseball, it's the Yankees that are getting favorable calls. The Mets, the Dodgers. In basketball, it's the Lakers. It's the Celtics. Those dominant big market teams that everybody likes, and the Cowboys, like those teams get favorable outcomes from referees and from the league itself. And I think that it could definitely be a little bit of a factor as well down the stretch. Go ahead, Debbie, and clip the undefeated rest of season and see what Debbie says. Debbie says it'll happen. All right, so we'll see how many people disagree with that. So, Austin, what do you think?
I mean, that is definitely a hot take. I mean, we have not seen a team have a chance to go undefeated since, was it 2012? I want to say.
15.
Is that the 15?
The Panthers went 15-1.
Well, yeah, I'm talking about when the
going into the Super Bowl. Oh,
the Patriots were undefeated going into the Super Bowl. I want to say that's 2012, but it could have been a little earlier.
I think it was. Yeah, I'm not going to try to guess actually.
Let's see, 2007 New England Patriots. Apart from the 1972 Dolphins, this is according to Debbie, pulled up this information. Apart from the 1972 Dolphins, 3 NFL teams have completed an undefeated, untied regular season. 1934 Chicago Bears. That's crazy. 1942 Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
And then 2007 New England Patriots. Okay, so 1934 and 1942. Okay, so when everyone was either starving from the Great Depression or at war. Got it. So the 2007 New England Patriots, obviously the closest team to that. So, I mean, that's definitely a very hot take, but you make a compelling case just based on the games left to be played. I mean, obviously, how is their schedule so easy? That's really my question. How you be Super Bowl champions and then have an easy schedule? That's kind of crazy. But you make a compelling case there, and you're right in the sense that like Mahomes has not played crazy football yet. You know, like he hasn't done anything to make Tony Romo or Chris Collinsworth fall out of their chairs quite yet. So,
I mean, they do that anyway.
Right.
He could knee the ball and they'd be like, did you just see that?
That's a heck of a play by Mahomes there. Debbie also pulled up the Kansas City Chiefs has the 12th easiest schedule based on their opponents' wins, averaging 8.2 wins for their opponents. That's because the AFC West plays against the NFC South this year. So shout out to the NFC South for being the worst. That's definitely a hot take. Maybe we should counter the hot take with the alternative hot take that the New York Giants will limp to the Super Bowl and then beat the undefeated Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. That won't happen, just so everyone knows.
That would not happen.
But that's a good hot take. Yeah, let's clip that. Let's post it everywhere. And when it happens, when the Chiefs,
I'm going to be rooting for it for the rest of this season.
We will be circulating this clip with the date 5 weeks into the season everywhere. We will be pumping this everywhere.
I hope so. For that sake, I hope so. For the podcast.
Yeah. All right. Before we sign off here, Caden, the last thing I want to mention is I didn't really notice it until you were full screen on my screen, but what on earth is the candle back there? Does it smell in your room or what's going on there?
Yeah, it's a candle. You know, you burn it to smell it. I like the smell of candles, and my family doesn't burn candles. And I had mentioned that to my girlfriend, and then the one day I showed up at her house, and then she's like, "Here, this is a candle for your house, for your room." And so I'm burning it in my room, so it smells good.
All right.
Is that a crazy concept to you?
It's a little bit of a crazy concept, but you know what?
How is that a crazy concept?
I don't know. You didn't really strike me as a candle kind of guy before this. I mean, I don't want to say I lost respect for you, but it certainly took a hit. I
just think it's a good smell. I don't think anything weird by it.
Maybe this will redeem it. What's the scent? Tell me what the candle is right now. And I swear, if it's like lavender blossom pink fruit, it's going to be an issue.
It is.
You're going to have to come back to the microphone.
It's brilliant citrus.
All right. First
What?
off, what on
is
earth is
wrong
that?
with-
Brilliant
What is what?
citrus? You can't just throw an adjective in front of a word and then call it a smell.
I don't know why you're hating so much. I know what I'm going to get you for your birthday. I'm just going to get you a bunch of candles now.
You're going to get me superb red. Is that going to be my smell?
Shut up. It says, hold on.
Oh. Please tell me there's like a pack and that's what you're going to look at. How many candles do you have?
No, I have another one, but
You have more than one candle. All right.
I have two.
It's two candles.
It says right here. Can you hear me from over there?
I can hear you, yes.
It says sugared citrus and tropical fruits with blood orange and currant. So it smells good, all right? Makes my room smell good.
All right. All right, I won't hate. Maybe I'm just hating because I can't have candles in my dorm room.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's what it is. All right, so that'll do it for this week. Want to remind you guys one more time that if you would have any great ideas for what you would like to see Caden and I do for the punishment at the end of the year for who predicts the most games incorrectly, be sure to comment that on this video or DM us on Instagram at KA_football. That will do it for this week. We are excited that you guys joined us for the recap of week 5 and looking forward to week 6. We will see you guys next week. It's going to be a fun one, so don't miss it. See you guys.